Welcome to Frontline Women, a show dedicated to women on the leading edge of change and culture renewal in America. I'm Dalisia Coppersmith, and I'll be your host and guide as we explore emerging issues and opportunities for women to lead side by side with men every day. So let's get off the sideline and onto the front line right now. All right, it's our kickoff episode, and I will tell you a bit about the show today, what we're trying to accomplish, how we can support you. Hopefully you'll make this part of your week every week. But I want to start out with a couple of statistics that come from the Women in the Workplace report. If you don't read that every year, I suggest you look for it. I think it comes out in the spring every year. They found in 2024 anyway, that 80 to 90% of women want to be promoted or at least contribute more than they are today. And that might not surprise you, that statistic, but here's how it breaks down. 80% of women want to be promoted, okay, just flat out, and that's over 70% in 2019. 90% of young women aspire to be promoted, and 76 of those want to go into senior roles. And of women of color, 88% would love to be promoted. So we're seeing the trend that more women want to step into leadership. But in fact, I'm seeing more women stepping out. And that kind of saddens me. I understand it. I understand that we've gone through such a period of striving that a lot of women are exhausted and they don't see really the payoff for staying in the workplace or for scrapping for that higher level position. So while all of that is understandable, my goal here with this show is to support you in reaching whatever goals that you desire for yourself in your career and your life. And so in this episode, I'll tell you a little bit about how we're going to run the show and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So by the end of today, if you feel that I'm talking about you, I'm talking to you, or that I can help you support women who work for you or women that you know, then yeah, I think it's worth your time every week to tune in, and I hope that you do. So let's get going here. So first of all, the title of the show, a lot of people are confused by it because they may come from the medical field or from the hospitality field, and to them, a frontline worker is someone who is closest to the customer, kind of down the line, if you will, from management. And that's really not the context we're talking about. For me, it's more like when I was in the military. When you're a frontline leader, it means you don't just sit in the back and call the shots. It means that you don't just sit idly by and hope that others make the right decisions above you. A frontline leader is somebody who is right there in the fight with everybody else, not afraid to get their hands dirty, communicating with everyone, making a difference. And when I think of frontline women, I think of the women who are not afraid to step up and lead side by side with men. That's the goal. None of this is against men or to go around them or in spite of men. This is all about us being shoulder to shoulder with people who have more responsibility and authority than we do right now, maybe, not being afraid to step into it with them. Because if we wait to be called, if we hope to be noticed, you know what happens. That day may never come, or if it does, it comes with so many unrealistic expectations or moments of being under-resourced that it makes it really hard to be successful in the roles. And so what I'm trying to do here is to get you to really envision a future where you are taking on more of a leadership role than you are today, without exhausting yourself, without giving up your entire life, without, submitting to unrealistic expectations, and without accepting being under-resourced any more than anybody else is. I'll say it that way. Most leaders do feel that they're under-resourced, but for women, there's a trend that we put her in the role, we don't resource her properly, and we go, oh, that's too bad, she's just not getting it done. So we're going to talk about all these things. We're going to unpack all of this in the show. But a frontline woman is somebody who, if you want to think about it this way, she's the person that people go to when something needs to be said or something needs to be done. And that may be you. When I think back even to high school, I can tell you that in some settings that right now sort of seem silly because they were high school things, people would come to me and tell me about an issue, ask that I go to the coach or the teacher, whoever it was, about something that everybody had been talking about. And I would think, well, if everybody's talking about this, why hasn't somebody already done something about it? And so Frontline women tend to be those that people believe that you have what it takes to take action. You have the courage to do it. You know how to say things. You know how to step into some respectful confrontation when needed, to advocate for what's right, to build a strategy and a vision for something, to make it better. And so those are the women that I'm talking about. I'm calling you forward. I'm asking you to look in your own life and your career and figure out where you want to do more of that. You probably have some things in mind already. I know I do. I'm never short on ideas of things that I want to help make happen. So this show is all about supporting you in doing that. And I mentioned earlier, doing it with less frustration, because a lot of women that do step up to leadership, we've gotten past the glass ceiling, and, we can make just about any position happen if we really want to stick with it long enough and develop ourselves appropriately. So the glass ceiling isn't as much of a problem anymore. Now we have, and you may have heard this, you may have seen a TED Talk or a podcast or something about it, but we have the glass cliff, and that's that situation where a woman steps into a leadership role and maybe people kind of sit back and fold their arms and say, well, let's see how she does. So they're not putting their full effort in. Have you ever seen this? They're not putting their full effort in the same way they do if a man is put in the position. Another part of this glass cliff phenomenon is women are often put in situations where men have failed. Maybe there is a culture issue, or, customers that are unhappy, or workforce is unhappy. And so they'll put a woman in the position thinking, oh, she'll make it right with everybody. She'll make sure everything is smoothed over and that we continue moving forward. So she's already at a disadvantage because there's a situation brewing already that a man has not been able to overcome. And then there's this aspect of, when you go into a position, you can defeat yourself because you put so much pressure on yourself to do everything right. So the burnout factor can even cause the glass cliff effect, where you made it through the glass ceiling, but then you fall off the glass cliff. So those are things that we still work through every day. But the latest thing that's being talked about, and I believe it was in the Women in the Workplace report as well, is the broken rung. And that's where women are having a heck of a time getting into management in the first place. Forget the senior leadership roles. So what's happening there? And we don't have enough direct support for women. I don't know if you've watched the news lately, but, diversity, equity, inclusion, those words, or that acronym is kind of illegal right now. And so I hope that changes, because I believe that some things have been misconstrued. I think that DEI has been lumped in with quotas and things like that. I don't advocate for quotas. Never have, and I never will. I do advocate for continuing to look at how we can make more teams effective. And DEI efforts are not the only way, certainly. People being well developed, people having self-awareness and having skills in talking with each other and overcoming conflicts and things like that. All of that is important. But there is an aspect around women stepping into leadership and being viewed and treated differently than men are. In fact, and this is in my book, some of the statistics that I give you can find in my book as well. There'll be a link in the show notes if you're interested in that. But Textio did a study. They did this twice, and it was consistent. They found that high-achieving women in tech were 38 times more likely to have personality criticism in their performance reviews. So let that sink in. 38 times more likely. Let me break it down a different way. High-achieving men and high-achieving women in tech, they looked at their performance reviews, because Textio is all about language, the use of language in business. And so they looked at the performance reviews, looked at the actual words that were put in there by their managers, and, peers who performed equally. They were high achievers. They were go-getters. They had results. 76% of women had personality criticism in their performance reviews. And 2% of men had personality criticism in their performance reviews. And what did that personality criticism, shake out to be? It was, you're too direct, too confrontational, you are demanding, you're abrasive, you're aggressive, all of those kinds of things, for doing the same things often that men are doing. And I just had a conversation with a colleague today, as a matter of fact, who said something about, if women would just lead the way that they are and not try to take on male traits. And I asked my colleague to slow down and really think about that, because not all women are the same. Some women are very feminine, and others just happen to be a little bit more what we would consider masculine in their traits. They're not afraid to say what needs to be said. They're not afraid to debate. They don't apologize for themselves all the time. And so it doesn't mean that a woman is trying to be like a man. Sometimes she's just being herself. So is any of this resonating with you? I don't know if you've experienced any of it, or if you have women in your life who you watch experience this. But what happens with us? Most of the time, we have a situation at work and we go home and we talk to our spouse, our partner, our friends, and that really doesn't get anything accomplished. So we sit with this frustration. We're not sure how to tackle it, because it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you step into it and try to have a conversation about it, then you're marked even further as difficult, demanding, confrontational. And so a lot of times we just kind of swallow those frustrations, and we might lose sleep over it. There have been times when I had what I felt was an illogical type of resistance going on. And I would just have to go home and stew, just go home and live with it. And so I lost a lot of sleep in my career, wondering why it was that I couldn't just, step into conversations that other leaders were able to step into. That, sometimes I had team members that expected me to be like their mom. I'm not your mom. That catch-22, where we're expected to be strong, otherwise they consider us weak leaders. But if we happen to be naturally strong, then we're criticized for not being soft enough. So it's maddening. We all know it's maddening, right? And that's what we're going to talk through on this show. But with that said, I am not all about belly aching and complaining. 100% into understanding the dynamics first, so that we can calm down, regain our calm confidence. People that have worked with me, they know I say that all the time. Calm confidence. That's what we're after. And when we get knocked off kilter a little bit, we just need to find our way back to calm confidence, because we can't possibly handle all these dynamics effectively. We can't possibly show up and lead at our best unless we can learn how to return to calm confidence. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be supporting you with in this show. Besides defining what a frontline woman is and how we might be a little bit different, what's possible when we set our minds to lead? So we have all these challenges, and we're going to work together to figure them out one by one. By the way, on this show, it's not just going to be women. I'm definitely inviting men into the show. And when I invite a man in as a guest, it is not an ambush, because, like I said, I believe we should be leading side by side. We should be partnering with men to make the right things happen in the world and in our organizations. So we will definitely be inviting some gentlemen on the show. But what's possible when we work through these things, restore our calm confidence, and decide to build a strategy to make a bigger difference? What's possible? I'll be sharing some case studies with you of women who have done incredible things. And it's because they are courageous. It's because they are brilliant. And it's because they decided to get off the sideline and onto the front line and do something about it, rather than waiting for men to choose them or waiting for men to make the right decisions and have the right perspective. That's what we're doing, ladies. And if there are gentlemen listening, I hope there are. That would be really great. What's possible when you decide to help us with this issue? Well, I can tell you a lot of men will never see the error in their thinking unless another man points it out. And so if this show helps you to understand what we face and how it's different than what men face, and when I say women, by the way, I'm including all genders, whatever shade of the gender spectrum you consider yourself to be, but it's all genders other than men. All right. And I'm just going to use the category of women. So if you're non-binary, please know that you are also included in this group that I'm talking about. But when you take part in something like this and you help your peers who are talented individuals, you feel even more inspired to step up. So it serves you as well. I've been a part of organizations, and especially in the military, where a woman shows up, a capable woman, whether it was me or somebody else, and it's like all the standards get elevated. Here's a simple one, showing up to fitness performance in the military. And because I was pretty fit and you weren't going to leave me in the dust, it was amazing how all of the physical fitness scores were elevated when I joined a specific unit that I was in. And I can give you tons of examples of that. You probably have them in your own life, where when you showed up and worked hard, other people worked harder as well. So it's my sincere belief that if we help women to achieve what we know that they can achieve, if we give them a little bit more coaching, if we are able to help them through these dynamics, if we identify them as potential leaders and help them see themselves that way, they're going to do some amazing things, and your organization is going to do some amazing things, more so than they would have before. So let's help all boats rise here. Growth is critical, of course, for all of us. We're never done growing. In case you're just listening to this podcast, if you're not watching it, I have gray hair. So I'm 55 years old and I'm still growing. There's so much I still have to learn and to master. And I think it's imperative for women to continuously grow in our careers and in our lives, because more is expected of us. We know that. Our mistakes, our missteps, our imperfections are really not forgiven as easily as they are with men. And so we have to keep growing. We have no choice. And most of us love it. We love learning and growing and getting better at things. And so I'm happy to support you in whatever way that you desire to grow in the coming year or more. That is it for this first welcome episode. I just wanted to give you an idea of what we're going to be covering. When I'm on by myself, I will try to keep it to 15 to 20 minutes most of the time. So you'll know those are probably shorter episodes, maybe up to 30 at the most. But when I have a guest, it'll be like 30 to 45-minute episodes, and we'll release them each week. So I would love for you to go onto my website, DalisiaCoppersmith.com, and just send me a message there in the contact form. That way I will know that you have interest in the podcast and that you'd like to be notified when the new episodes drop. And so that's it for today. Let's see. So we covered what a frontline woman is, how frontline women are a little bit different, what our challenges and possibilities are, and what consistent growth can give you. So if you're on this ride and you want to hang out with me once a week, I would love to support you. A special gift for you, by the way, I'll have this in the show notes as well. If you'd like to dive deeper into looking at how you can build your legacy right now, on my homepage, I have a free gift that you can sign up for. It's a workbook called Build Your Legacy in the Year Ahead. It'll help you take stock of where you are and where you want to go in the next year. So it's a really good primer for everything that we're going to be talking about. All right, until next time, I'm Dalisia Coppersmith. Thanks for listening and for stepping up to be a frontline leader in your world. I'll see you soon.